Everyone thinks Sofia Vergara is living the perfect life with her husband, but we discovered she's actually living every woman's worst nightmare.
He was horrific, unfair, and just crazy.
No one knew that Sofia's ex, Nick Loeb, was trying to force her to have his kids.
She knew I always wanted to be a father.
Nick broke up with Sofia because she didn't want to have kids with him, but just a year later, Nick came back wanting control. He sued Sofia to try and force her to have his kids and used the media to his advantage. Can Sofia escape her ex?
Sofia, anything Nick can do or say to get that embryo? No.
Why are they attacking her?
A very closely watched and controversial case, the lawsuit by Sofia Vergara's former fiancé, Nick Loeb, over 2 frozen embryos created while they were still a couple.
Wait, why does her ex want to have her kids so badly?
It all started with the terrifying diagnosis that prevented Sofia from having more kids in the first place.
Doctors told her she had thyroid cancer. She was just 28 years old.
When they tell you that word, you always think death. So it was pretty scary. One of the things that drove me in my life, I was a single mother very young because I got divorced. It's like I knew that I needed to have money and to feel like independent, to have control of my life. Even when I wasn't making much, I had a son and my priorities were already starting like his college fund. I had like a life insurance that it wasn't much, but for me it was something in case I was if I died.
After receiving her diagnosis, it must have felt like Sofia had lost control over her own body. And it was made even worse when she had to break the devastating news to her son.
How did you tell your young son?
I didn't make it like a big deal. I just told him I'm sick, I have this cancer. I've been very, very lucky. They removed my thyroid and taking medication for it.
After beating her battle with cancer, Sofia learned that it would be very dangerous for her to become pregnant again.
She has such a goofy and bubbly personality. You would never know that she's been through so much.
I know. And she grappled to regain a sense of control over her life. She did everything she could to support her son and the rest of her family.
When I started presenting, modeling and stuff like that, that was gonna, immediately give me money, I was always ready to risk everything to make it work.
When Sofia's presenting career took off, she thought acting would finally give her control over her life. But she soon found out it wouldn't be as easy as she thought.
When I decided I was going to act, I'm moving to LA, I'm going to hire the best speech coach. I spent so much money, 6 months. It was useless. I didn't get any jobs.
I cannot play a scientist with this accent.
Say it again.
Easy breezy cover girl.
Oh, I don't know how you got hired.
I feel like I'm always going to be typecast because of the way I sound, the way I look.
Because of her accent, people would dismiss her and stereotype her as a ditzy Latin woman. So when she met Nick Loeb, she thought she'd finally found someone who would support her. But then he started to pressure her into another role.
Have you thought about more children?
Yeah, of course, because of him. He's younger than me. He's never had kids, so I'm sure he's gonna put pressure.
You said for as long as I can remember, I've dreamed of being a parent.
Why was Nick pressuring her to have a kid? If he wanted to be a dad so badly, he already had a stepson.
I'm not sure. I guess he wanted a kid of his own, so Sofia and Nick created embryos.
What is an embryo?
So the embryo is like her egg and his sperm. So really all they have to do is put it in a surrogate.
But when Sofia's career blew up and she was working a lot, Nick actually gave her an ultimatum saying, "As I was coming on 40, I gave her an ultimatum. When she refused, we split up." After being left by Nick, Sofia focused on her career, and that's when she met someone who would change her life forever.
We were walking around the White House Correspondents' parties, and who comes swooping down in front of us is Sofia Vergara, and I just could not take my eyes off of her.
Did you know that she was the one?
I knew right away.
Sofia chose to be with Joe because he put her first. She thought she finally had control over her life.
Since I saw you last, Sofia, you got engaged. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so happy. It's like, I've never had such a fun, peaceful time, and we're like super excited of the future.
But then Nick came back and he wanted control over the embryos that he had created with Sofia.
Loeb is currently suing Vergara over 2 frozen embryos they created together.
Loeb wrote an op-ed in the New York Times saying, quote, "Our frozen embryos have a right to live."
In my view, keeping them frozen forever is tantamount to killing them.
They're already alive. They're on a journey and a pathway to being born. I can give these children a wonderful life. I've let it open to her. If she wants to be involved.
So, he cannot find new eggs. He cannot meet somebody new. What? I don't get it.
Move on.
Of course, and I would like to, but that doesn't mean I should just give up the 2 lives that I've created.
Well, even if it's live or not live, that's not what he signed.
What does she mean?
You each signed an agreement saying neither of you would bring this embryo to term without the other's consent. You accordingly signed this portion of the form directive even though he did not agree with it in order to avoid further abuse.
He's saying that she was verbally and physically abusive, that she bullied him to sign the contract.
So he took her to court to try and win over the embryos.
The whole thing has been crazy, and it's been a lot of time and energy for something that is super unfair and just crazy. It shouldn't be out there. It shouldn't be happening.
It looked like Sofia was losing control over her own life, and the media was all over it. But Joe was by Sofia's side through it all, supporting her.
I'm very protective. There's, times when paparazzi can be very inappropriate, very intrusive. And, I was a bouncer and a bodyguard, and I go into that mode.
We discovered that Nick even wrote, directed, and starred in a movie about a doctor that goes from pro-choice to pro-life.
What?
Yeah, but as crazy as that is, this actually isn't the first time Sofia felt like she lost control of her life.
My brother was killed in Barranquilla, Colombia. He was shot, and unfortunately, none of us was able to say goodbye.
Sofia realized she'd been fighting for control her whole life, and she wasn't gonna let anyone control her anymore. She fought back against Nick.
I don't want to allow this person to take more advantage of my career and try to promote himself.
Sofia and her lawyers revealed something during the trial that forced Nick to drop the suit. It's revealed that 2 of Nick's former girlfriends had abortions. He said, "When I was in my 20s, I had a girlfriend who had an abortion."
What? That totally goes against what he's been saying.
The courts thought so too, and Sofia won the case. Even though Nick put Sofia through a terrible experience, she stood up to him in the most Sofia way possible, with compassion and understanding.
When I have a difficult time, if a person has done something to me or, a mistake that a person has done, I always try to put myself in the shoes of the person. I totally understand him, but the thing is this, that fortunately and unfortunately, there is law. You sign papers, legal papers.
She was able to take back control of her life, and she built a life that she's always wanted for herself and for her family, and she was able to do it on her own terms.
I've seen how hard she has worked for her success. You're the first Colombian actress on the Walk of Fame.
I am very honored. You have to keep going. I can't give up, because then there is something to lose.
You can't let others define you.
You should never let anyone control how you want to live your life.